Welcome back. So did you know that there are 7 main reasons why willpower could be sabotaging your attempt at sobriety? Have you noticed that no matter which method that you try, you end up basically gritting your teeth and having to push through because you're using willpower? So by the end of this video, you're going to be super clear on why willpower isn't a long-term solution and how it's actually blocking your freedom. So let's get started. Well, we first need to understand what willpower is. So willpower is really the conscious mind conflicting or fighting against the subconscious mind. So you see the subconscious mind's producing the urge, the craving. It's producing the urgency, even the anxiety or irritation if you delay at having your addiction. It's producing that, and your conscious mind is saying, no, we're not going to have our addiction. We're not going to have that drink, that cigarette, that smoke, whatever. And it's effectively using your conscious mind's stopping your body from taking action to go and get that addiction. So that's what willpower is really, how it's really functioning. You've got the subconscious urge and you've got the conscious mind blocking action. That's really what it is. It's constant blocking of taking action. So let's look at the first reason why willpower is sabotaging your sobriety. And that's because willpower doesn't fix your addicted brain. You see, when you were born, you didn't have cravings for your addiction. You didn't want your addiction. And then you ended up becoming addicted somehow. And then have you noticed that even if you have periods of sobriety, that you still have cravings? So that means you don't have your drug or your, let's say if you're gambling, you're not gambling, which means that your brain chemistry has gone back to normal if you've done that for more than 10, possibly 20 days. Your brain chemistry will have gone back to normal, yet you still have cravings. That means your brain has not gone back to normal. Therefore, the method you used, which involved willpower, didn't transform your addicted brain back to the way it was. So, of course, you're going to still have cravings, which sabotages your ongoing sobriety, doesn't it? And that's all because willpower doesn't fix your addicted brain. The second reason is why willpower is sabotaging your sobriety is because it produces this inner conflict. So, like I said, you've got your subconscious mind pushing the addiction with cravings and other physical phenomena, and then you've got your conscious mind, blocking you from taking action. And what this creates inside of you is this mental conflict, isn't it? This tension that's always there. You're always having to be on guard to block the action of your addiction if you're trying to be sober. And so this mental conflict itself is a kind of suffering, isn't it? And sometimes even that can get too much. And that's usually, it's one of the reasons why people relapse, which means that using willpower is really creating this mental conflict, and it's sabotaging your addiction. Other people would say, well, actually it's the addiction that's causing the mental conflict. Well, yeah, it's all part of the addiction, but it's the method. There are methods, particularly the True Quit Mind Transformation method that I teach, that doesn't involve conflict. So it's not just because you're quitting or you have an addiction that you have the mental conflict. It's because you're using the willpower. So the third reason why willpower is sabotaging your sobriety is because you keep needing to use willpower. So if you're using willpower as your main method to quit, and even if, let's say that you've succeeded for, days, weeks, months, years, you keep having to use willpower. In other words, you keep having this mental conflict. You keep having these cravings, and you keep having to then use willpower. And again, we know this is because your brain hasn't been changed transform back to normal. So you really, if you use the willpower method, you're signing up to using that for life, really. And I've met people that have cravings, for 20, 30, even 50 years. I met somebody who had cravings on a daily basis. Not everyone has that, of course, but particularly when you have strong emotional events, the cravings just come back, even if you haven't had a craving for weeks. So you then have to keep using willpower. And often that's just not enough. And this brings us to reason number 4, why willpower sabotages your sobriety. And that's because willpower gets overpowered by the subconscious mind. You see, the urge to have your addiction is driven by the subconscious mind, because your subconscious mind is trying to help change your state of being so that you don't have pain and suffering, so that you actually even have some pleasure. And it's using the very powerful survival mechanisms in our, what we call our old reptilian brain, the base of the skull here, where you are, the fight or flight system or the reward system. So I won't go into that in more detail. I've covered that in other videos, but essentially the survival, we call them survival instincts, to fight or run away from danger, or to spend a lot of effort to go and get pleasure like food or have sex or get shelter. These are very powerful survival mechanisms, and this is actually what's driving the addiction, because your subconscious is seeing your state. If your state of being is in pain, and often we have emotional pain like stress, we can be agitated, irritated, we can feel sad, we can feel rejected, we can feel guilty. Even this inner mental conflict that's even caused by the addiction is seen as suffering, and your subconscious is trying to stop that. It's trying to give you a break from that by taking away the pain and giving you some pleasure. And this subconscious system is designed to override the conscious mind, particularly because in an emergency, you just don't have the time for complex thinking. You need to act quickly in an emergency. So the subconscious is designed to overpower the conscious mind. And the conscious mind, remember, is what is, where the willpower is being motivated from, the blocking of taking action. So willpower is going to get overridden. It's going to get, it's not powerful enough to continually fight the subconscious, particularly when there's a strong emotional event which becomes almost like an emergency. The subconscious is just going to, most likely win that battle. So willpower gets overpowered, and therefore it's sabotaging your sobriety if you're thinking willpower is the solution. So the 5th reason is something I've just touched on already. The 5th reason why willpower sabotages your sobriety is because it often leads to relapse, particularly when there's a strong emotional event. And I've just explained why, is because the subconscious is trying to go into survival mode to save you from that pain of that strong emotional event. And that's when the subconscious is going to be the strongest. And that's why, using willpower, well, if that's your method, that's all you've got, then it often leads to relapse. So the 6th reason why willpower is most likely sabotaging your sobriety is because after this repeated cycle of attempting to quit with willpower and having your sobriety sabotaged and constantly relapsing, you are left feeling out of control. And this feeling of out of control is really confusing, because your conscious mind knows why you want to quit your addiction? Well, basically because it's going to cause long-term suffering. It knows why the addiction is having the consequences in your life, whether that be physical health consequences, whether that be financial consequences or relationship consequences, or just making you feel crap and emotionally drained and maybe guilty or anxious. So your conscious mind knows that um, that all of these consequences are being caused by your addiction, and it knows very clearly that you want to stop your addiction. Yet when you try to use your conscious mind and use willpower and constantly relapse because it's not strong enough against the subconscious, it just feels like you don't have any control. You just don't understand why when I know so clearly, do I keep on going and doing the thing that I consciously know I don't want to do? Well, it's because you're trying willpower. So you're trying to use willpower, and it's sabotaging your sobriety. It's leaving you with this out of control feeling. And this out of control feeling has further consequences, which is leading us to the seventh reason why willpower is sabotaging your sobriety. And that's because when you feel out of control, you develop what I would call false beliefs about your capability. You can believe that maybe you're not strong enough, or maybe that you are never going to be able to quit. Maybe you believe that there's something wrong with you because you've been round this cycle many times. It's not you that's the problem. It's because you're trying to use willpower. That's a faulty method. It's not a real complete solution. So as I've described in all of these ways. So it ends up, because you have these false beliefs that you can't do it, that you're not strong enough, that there must be something wrong with you, you end up delaying. And this is the seventh main reason why willpower is sabotaging your sobriety, is because you then delay your next attempt to quit. And of course you would delay because what you tried didn't work, and you really tried hard. You really, became determined, and you even prepared, and this time you were going to do it, but then it didn't work. And it leaves you feeling demoralized and not knowing what to do. And so you then delay your next quit attempt. So I hope by now that you really can see that willpower is not a complete solution. And what you really need is to not battle the subconscious. What you really need is a way to work with the subconscious, so that the conscious mind and the subconscious are working together to transform your situation, your life, your state of being, to something that literally evolves to a point where you just simply don't need your addiction. And this is totally possible with the True Quit mind transformation method that I teach. And I really invite you to look at some of the other videos that I've produced, because I'm really trying to share this amazing approach that doesn't have conflict, that is a step-by-step method, and where you can actually not only end your addiction, but really open up your life to more of your potential and experience, real freedom, real deep peace and contentment. So if you want to know more about that, I have a free masterclass. There's a link in the description. And I really encourage you to go and watch that. It'll give you a lot more detail around this method and why and how it works. And I really ultimately look forward to helping you quit your addiction. So have a great day, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye for now.